Hello and welcome to episode 17 of the podcast, still devoted to the classic and sometimes not so classic genre cinema of yesteryear. This is The Bride of Monster Kid Radio, and I'm your writer, host, and producer, Derek M. Cook, and the music that you're hearing right now comes from the band The Beach Bunnies. This is the song Sunset Surf. It's the title track off their album, Sunset Surf, which you can find over at beachbunnies.bandcamp.com. Check them out and make sure you let them know that you heard about them here on Bride of Monster Kid Radio when you're done listening to this episode of the podcast. Well, we've been teasing it for quite some time, and I really hope it's worth the wait. We're going to find out if it was worth the wait for Beth, because we are finally going to sit down to watch The Hideous Sun Demon. Finally. Now, I have not watched this movie in quite some time, so I'm really excited to dive back into it. I've been teasing Beth with it for quite some time. I've been teasing y'all with it for quite some time. So I'm really excited to get into it, see if the movie holds up to my memories of it, but more importantly, see what my beloved bride thinks of this movie, something that I remember really liking and consider one of my favorite DIY low-budget independent monster movies of the 50s and 60s. So we're going to see how that plays out. Also in this week's episode, as always, the ever-reliable Mark Matzke is here with the Beta Capsule review. We are still going through the series Ultraman Ace, which is slowly becoming one of my favorite Ultraman series. Ultraman 80 is always going to have a special place in my heart. It was my first Ultraman experience, and I just love it. I love the music, I love the aesthetic, I love all of it. But Ultraman Ace has got some really, really good storytelling, and I think Mark Matzke would agree, and if you've been paying attention to the Beta Capsule review, I think you'll agree as well. So we've got that coming up too. Also, we're going to sneak in just a little bit of listener feedback. Now, I do want to say that after I recorded everything with Beth, I realized I had another voicemail sitting in the hopper. So I'm going to sit on that until the next time she's on the show, and then we'll go over that feedback together with her. But we do have a little bit in this episode, so that's coming up too. Of course, to get to all of that, we've got to finish up this rambling intro section. So here we go.
Points the way to an experience human eyes have never before seen.
Earlier this evening, I saw what looked like a small meteor drop into the desert not far from here.
You mean it could have been a spaceship?
Robert Clarke is the scientist caught between vicious gangsters and the astounding she-monster. Here is a power that frightens the deer in the forest, terrifies fearless dogs. A woman so intriguing that her face and figure fascinate every man. The woman whose warmth consumes. But the astounding she-monster is no more to be feared than beasts of our own underworld.
In case you get any more cute ideas, that's an example of what doing.
If you're not too afraid, make a date with the woman you'll never forget. A woman impervious to bullets.
From Outer Space is a picture that you'll long remember for its blending of science and fiction, for its eerie terror, and for its story of an invasion from another planet that's almost beyond imagining. I tell you, from its size and its appearance, this thing came from outer space. I even have reason to believe that there's some form of life in it. What do you want? What are you doing? Let me see you as you really are.
Live from the Land of Light in Nebula M78, home of the mighty Ultra Heroes, it's Monster Kid Radio's Beta Capsule Review. Ultraman Ace, Episode 31, From Ultra 7 to Ultraman Ace. Hokuto and Dan observe a black comet streaking across the sky, but Tak's analysis of the object is interrupted by the surprise appearance of a little girl inside headquarters. She's come to ask Hokuto for help with her uncle and an animal both named Baku. Captain Ryu sends Hokuto on this mission with little Mio, which takes them to the zoo. Baku the tapir is being tended to by Baku the human, and the tapir is not feeling well. When the animal disappears, a monster-sized tapir abruptly materializes in the city, doing momentary damage until it vanishes, and Baku is found back in his pen. Hokuto hypothesizes that the black comet may have affected the change just before the transformation happens again. Uncle Baku is able to calm the monster down, but the commanders at Tak have seen enough, ordering the elimination of Baku the tapir. The televised execution completely backfires, and Kaiju tapir Bakutari begins a deadly rampage, vaporizing the firing squad and endangering the lives of Uncle Baku and Mio. Hokuto becomes Ultraman Ace, but moments before he finishes Bakutari, a familiar voice intervenes, offering a different solution. The 31st episode of Ultraman Ace, which premiered November 3rd, 1972, is both charming and odd in equal measure. Numerous things happen for no apparent reason. Mio is able to infiltrate Tak, but Hokuto can't recall meeting her. Uncle Baku is able to hold conversations with Baku the tapir in which they speak to each other. And most randomly of all, Ultra 7 gets involved for the specific purpose of sparing the tapir's life. Add to that the cuddly countenance of terrible monster Bakutari, who resembles a bipedal Snuffleupagus, who shoots flames and toxic chemicals, and you have a story that unfolds as if from a child's perspective. Shot in an avant-garde style that favors close-ups, obscured faces, and lots of handheld camera motion, one thing episode 31 will definitely do is hold your attention. For Monster Kid Radio's Beta Capsule Review, this is Mark Matzke reporting.
I'm Dr. West, but this is Dr. Stanley. Now, we've completed going over Dr. Phillips's notes, and I must warn you that we're faced with a very dangerous situation. Dr. Stanley?
A remote island destined for total destruction.
Listen, if you think there's something running loose on this island, you can't leave me alone.
Tony, this could be very...
Don't leave me alone.
I'm not very keen on going down in their saddle again.
Out of an experiment on life came a devastating death.
You look safe.
Science creates. Can science destroy?
Now, this is very difficult to explain, but there are some creatures loose on this island, and they're dangerous.
What do you mean, creatures?
I wish I could tell you more, but we just don't know exactly what they are. Come on, let's get out of here. Listen to me! They're inactive now because they defined it, but we don't know for how long, and we can't stay here, so come on!
Oh, David, I'm so frightened.
So am I!
Fiction or fact, this could really happen.
Are you all right?
No!
There's one out here. Get in the car, quick!
Can this horror be destroyed?
David, do you really think we can get out of this?
Well, I think we stand a good chance, a very good chance, yes.
But you don't really believe that, do you?
Not 100%, no, but I'd like to believe it.
Can these terrified people be saved from certain death? Fire, bullets, bombs could not penetrate its impregnable shell, but something did. What? See Island of Terror at this theater soon.
Have something to share with Bride of Monster Kid Radio? You can email the show at monsterkidradio@gmail.com, or you can call and leave a voicemail at 360-524-2484.
Queen of Blood. A tantalizing, mystifying enigma.
She's gorged herself of fresh blood. She's a monster. We have a good supply of blood plasma with us. We'll use that to feed her.
And if we run out of plasma, Commander?
This is Count Vlad, but you may recognize me by my more familiar name, Count Dracula, and I'm here to offer you a friendly warning. Derek and his guests often get excited, and occasionally this results in revealing key plot points of the movies they're discussing. In your parlance, you might call these revelations spoilers. You know how the children of the night, monster kids, can get sometimes. So consider yourself warned, and don't come begging to me to kill them for their transgressions afterward. I have more pressing issues to take care of, like that pesky Van Helsing.
Okay, so we're going to sit down. We're going to finally watch The Hideous Sun Demon. I've been talking about it for over a month. I hope I haven't built it up too much. You have watched the trailer.
Yes.
We talked about it briefly last week.
Uh-huh.
What did you think then? I guess you told us what you thought then. Have your thoughts changed?
Nope. I'm still willing.
So we got a message from Brian Clarke. He referenced the Jekyll thing.
Oh, the Jekyll thing, yeah.
Jekyll thing of it all. He says Jekyll is apparently the correct pronunciation. This is in reference to the trailer which I'm sure I've played in this episode at some point, but they referred to him being like a Dr. Jekyll of whatever, and we commented on that. So this is what Brian said. Jekyll is apparently the correct pronunciation. We're just so used to it the other way that it sounds weird. I learned this, actually, from a Doctor Who audio drama. Beth might appreciate that. All these years later, the show is still fulfilling its original purpose of being educational.
Yeah, I seem to remember I learned a thing or two about Queen Elizabeth I and the fires of Pompeii and a few other things that I'm not sure are entirely canon, shall we say?
That's awesome. No, thanks for sending me a message, Brian, about this. I appreciate it. Also, he sent another message saying that his Kaiju King shirt came today. It looks awesome.
It's because it's an awesome shirt.
There are now 2 of these shirts out in the wild. One is in my closet. I guess it's not really the wild, although you've not seen my closet. and I don't know what Brian's doing with his, but if you want that, well, check the website.
Man, order one.
Yeah, order one. MonsterKidRadio.net. Now, last week, not only did we talk about your reaction to the trailer, but we kind of talked a little bit about what was going on with us and told some stories. And Brian also said, I can't believe those haunt managers are blaming me for not letting you, Beth, be an authority. Listen to last week's episode where we talk about what really happened in Kuwait or why we didn't go back to Kuwait. There's a lot of other stories that'll be told by the end of the year in a book that I'm writing. But yeah, that's just one of the things.
Boy, you know the haunt that I'm really excited about, and I think you and I are going to have to maybe do a weekend trip here.
Is it the Universal one?
In August, Universal is opening a permanent haunted attraction in Vegas.
How do we get involved with that?
I actually was looking up some stuff today about getting involved with that. So maybe more to come. We'll see.
All right. Well, Brian, thanks for reaching out, man.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
You know, the Jekyll thing, I know Dwight Kemper, author Dwight Kemper, whose book is up for a rondo, and is actually having some medical issues right now. So fingers and tentacles crossed, everything's going okay, buddy. Is also somebody who's been very like, it's Dr. Jekyll. This is how it's really pronounced. I think he was the one that is probably the first guy who was really making sure I got it right. And I appreciate that. So, yeah.
Okay, but I am just going to say that in nearly 30 years of producing theater and multiple scripts that reference Mr. Hyde's counterpart, I've never heard it say it that way.
You know,
so if you wouldn't say it that way normally, or it doesn't sound that way in your head, I don't think you're wrong.
I get pretty sensitive about last names not being pronounced correctly, though, given mine and yours now. So, I mean, but for me, it's always been Jekyll growing up, I think because of Heckle and Jekyll. You know, the cartoon. But anyway. We also got a voicemail.
I don't know. Jekyll and Hyde sounds like a cleaning product, not
Jekyll and Hyde.
Not a murderous scientific duo.
Well, see, that's what happens when you drink cleaning products.
Don't drink cleaning products, kids. They're not good for you. I mean, I suppose you can gargle with Listerine, which technically was a cleaning product to start out with, but don't swallow it.
So we got a voicemail from Captain Billy, and I haven't even heard this one yet either. So this is the first time listening.
Oh, Captain, my Captain, what have you got for us today?
Hey, Beth. Hey, Derek. Hey, group. Captain Billy here. Hey, I've been meaning to call for the last couple of weeks. It's been really exceptional shows end of February, beginning of March here. I didn't realize how much I liked Larry on the show. At least I forgot. He's been so long since he's been on. I really love when he's on. He's one of if he's not my favorite guest of yours, he's top 3 easily. So, and I don't consider Beth because Beth is a co-host. So she's a whole other segment, a whole other part. So, and the other thing I wanted to compliment you on was this last episode, when you voted on watching The Hideous Sun Demon. I love the personal episodes when you and Beth get chit-chat about your lives. And it was interesting. I didn't realize Beth had gotten hurt. I guess I'm on Facebook, but I never go on there. So I didn't realize Beth had gotten hurt over when you were across the ocean there. So I'm glad to hear everything's okay. And I did not know the whole story. And there's a story I'd be interested in reading. So But yeah, I really love when you guys get personal on the air. If you would do that, I mean, if it was me, you'd do it every week. But I think and maybe not enough happens in a week to do an episode like that, and maybe other people wouldn't find it as interesting. It is Monster Kid Radio, not Derek and Beth Radio. But hey, separate feed, separate show, I'd listen. But yeah, if you did it every 6 or 8 weeks, oh yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed it. And if you're looking for votes, whether this was a good idea or not, it is a good idea. Please continue to do this type of thing more often. So you mentioned The Mummy and the Monkey on YouTube. They do a similar thing every week. They talk about their lives. They're both eBay sellers, and James the monkey recently was downsized at his job, so that was what the last episode was about. The show is called Living the Scream, and it is them on the set of the regular show but out of costume, and like I said, just chatting about their lives and what's going on. So yeah, yes, that he said it on the show about losing his job, so that's not out of school. So you thought maybe I said something I shouldn't have. And if you want to edit that part around, I'll take a big breath here now so you can edit around me. Great show as always, Derek. Great job, Beth. Keep up the great work. I'll talk to you later.
I did not know that about James. That sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. The Mummy and the Monkey are really good people. I've spent time with them at Monster Bash, and I like to consider them friends. I don't interact with them on a very regular basis, but I'd still like to consider them friends. And I want nothing but the best for, well, all of my friends. Well, everybody really, but these people are great. So
definitely sending them good thoughts. And to any of our monster kids out there, we know a lot of people are going through some tough times or doing some belt tightening, and we know how busy you all are, and that your time is valuable, and we do really appreciate when you choose to spend it with us.
Yeah, for sure. As far as doing like more personal episodes, that's kind of what I envisioned for the House of Monster Kid Radio, which was the YouTube thing that we're doing for patron exclusives over on Patreon. But we used to do A Day in the Life of Team Death over on YouTube. We have not relaunched YouTube since we've moved to Arizona, but it's something that Beth and I keep talking about, sitting down and figuring out what that's going to be. We just have had so many moving parts, some of them not by design or by our plan, that we just haven't had a chance to do that yet. But I would anticipate in April, at least sometime, Beth and I will sit down and figure out our YouTube stuff, and we'll have more personal stuff as well as, well, whatever we end up doing on YouTube. I don't think we can podcast without inadvertently sharing personal things.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the things that I love, the things I'm passionate about are personal to me. And I think a lot of monster kids feel that way. That we joke about pronunciation of a name or something, but these things do mean a lot to us. I'm, for instance, a huge fan of Mothra. That's my favorite kaiju.
Heck yeah.
Love her to death, love the peanuts, love the whole, just all of it, all wrapped up in a nice little cocoon. See what I did there? But we understand, how much these things mean to our viewers, and we do try our best to get it right and to do right by these things and give movies and shows and attractions and things we review a fair assessment and a fair shake, and try to see that anytime someone creates, they're putting their heart out there. They're putting part of themselves out there. And I think it's really nice to have a place to be able to honor that and show that we appreciate the parts of themselves that these actors, directors, writers, everyone, costume makers are putting into their work.
Yeah. And that's what we do. That's what the whole point of Monster Kid Radio has been from the very beginning. I still have a couple of regrets about some episodes during the first iteration where I may not have been as complimentary about a movie than I probably could have or should have been, because in the end, every movie is somebody's favorite movie. And we're about celebrating the fandom and the love, not criticizing or taking pot shots at a flick. I don't know how we got onto this track, but
I just think, it's really a special thing that we do. We don't take it for granted. We don't take you, our listeners, for granted, and you are a part of our lives. When you're checking in, when you buy a shirt, when you send an email. It really brightens our day, and it makes our day. And we'd love to hear from you always. And if there are movies or guests, blasts from the past, maybe you could call it, that you would like to see repeated on Monster Kid Radio, whether that's because you know they have a new project coming out, or just a movie that maybe you want to see Derek and I watch together instead of whoever watched it previously with him and reviewed. We'd love to hear those things. Tell us your favorites. Tell us, your little niche things, and send us along your requests. We can't guarantee that we'll be able to do all of them, but boy, we'll sure try to honor with as many of them as we can.
Speaking of people being part of, this whole thing, I haven't told you this, but I was on YouTube yesterday checking something.
Mm-hmm.
We now have 1,000 subscribers on the Monster Kid Radio YouTube channel.
Oh, I love you guys. All 1,000 of you monsters.
That's amazing. Now, I don't know what that translates to in YouTube algorithms or whatever. And I haven't looked at our download numbers for the actual podcast, the audio version, but we do upload an audio version of the podcast up to YouTube. It's just audio, but if it's how you want to listen to your podcast, it's right there for you. So whoever put us over the limit, thank you.
Thank you.
We also had a new patron join us over on Patreon, and I'll mention that person at the end of the show. Just want to give him a shout out.
Hey, and remember, just like the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland, there's always room for one more. Join us.
As far as Larry goes, I know last week we spent a lot of time talking about how, vote for whoever your favorites are over at the Rondos.
Yeah.
But I want to say this. I want to put this out there. You know who's not a member of the Monster Kid Hall of Fame?
Who?
Larry.
Really?
Dr. Gangrene, Larry Underwood, is not a member of the Monster Kid Hall of Fame, and he has done Godzilla's work over the years, his entire career.
I've actually known about Larry a lot longer than I've known about you, darling.
And I guess he does have a following.
Yeah, it's a huge following.
Dr. Gangrene needs to be inducted into the Monster Kid Hall of Fame. Last year, he spearheaded the effort to have a permanent memorial put in place in Nashville for Sir Cecil Creep, one of Nashville's earlier and probably most influential horror hosts outside of Larry. That's just giving him a little rub there. But yeah, Dr. Gangrene's not in the Monster Kid Hall of Fame. And for all of his television work, his movie work, his writing, and he's got some pretty awesome upcoming projects that I can't talk about. I say we vote Larry Underwood into the Monster Kid Hall of Fame.
I think I agree. I mean, he's I think my second favorite Tennessean. Right?
Okay.
Is that what they're called?
Tennesseans? I don't know. Nashvillians? Nashvillans. Ooh, I like that. Except he's not technically Nashville either. He's in a suburb. But you know what?
Anyway.
And I think you can vote for more than one Monster Kid Hall of Fame, so choose whoever else.
Definitely vote for Larry, because come on, we gotta put him over.
Yeah, definitely putting him over. And speaking of putting things over, I've put over the Hideous Sun Demon for months with you and for weeks on the show, and I think it's time to dive into it. What do you think?
The Sun Demon better be pretty hideous.
A man who loved with fierce, demanding passion. A monster who ran wild in a reign of terror that spread murder in his trail. The thing that went wrong in the secret atomic laboratory afflicted him with the most hideous curse ever visited on man, forcing him to cower in the darkness like a hunted animal. For one touch of the sun's bright rays transformed him into the reptilian Jekyll and Hyde monstrosity who couldn't control his lust to kill.
Okay, we just finished watching The Hideous Sun Demon together over dinner. It was nice. It was lovely. What a date.
It was hideous.
Uh-huh.
In like all the best ways.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So a little bit about the movie, just to kind of give you some information. Robert Clarke, the producer, director, co-writer, star, and
conceptualist.
Yeah, pretty much did everything, right?
This is his baby, clearly.
Yeah. Now, he wanted to be an actor, and he comes out to California. He starts making movies, and one of the movies he ends up getting involved with is a low-budget science fiction movie called The Astounding She-Monster that I'm not 100% sure I've actually seen.
Okay.
But with a title like that, I should correct that.
Yeah, that feels like an obvious one.
Yeah, I definitely need to see that. He had a deal where, if I understood correctly, he got paid, but he also got a percentage, and it did really well, considering.
Okay. Hey, five and dime movies and stuff back in the day. Absolutely. These are the kind of things that kids wanted to spend their pocket money to go see.
Right. And because it did so well, he's like, well, I'm going to make one of those myself. And that led to The Hideous Sun Demon, which got shot over the course of 12 weekends.
Okay. Making so much sense now, but
shot over the course of 12 weekends because when they rented the camera, instead of paying a 2-day fee to get it for 2 days, because the rental facilities were closed over the weekend, you could check it out on Friday and return it on Monday and only could charge 1 day.
Oh, okay. Smart.
Also, most of the crew and bits of the cast, college students, film students.
I was noticing the youngness of all of the extras.
Yeah.
Everybody who didn't get a credit, basically, or who didn't get punched in the face by the Hideous Sun Demon, was quite young. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, that's a big part of the reason why I like this so much, is that it has that DIY aesthetic that I respond to so well when it comes to movies like this, like Manos, the Hands of Fate, like Night of the Living Dead, which I'll get back to in a second, like The Evil Dead. They have this do-it-yourself kind of mindset that I just can't help but think, yeah, I would have done that if I was in his shoes. And maybe in some ways I did when I thought I'd be a filmmaker when I grew up. I don't know.
I can definitely see, I see where he was going with this.
Okay.
I see his passion. I'm wondering one thing.
Okay.
Who's the alcoholic in his family? Or is that a studio pick? Did he have, because I know from the era we get a lot of these little flicks and then the studio goes, okay, but we gotta have a moral.
Yeah.
So I don't know, is it that he's telling a morality play about the dangers of alcoholism, or is that a studio add-in to an existing script? I'd be interested to find out if possible.
I would say that it was not a studio mandate because this was not a studio film until he finished it.
Okay.
He got the whole thing done and then worked with American International Pictures for distribution. I believe it was AIP for distribution. So this was all him. I would probably suggest, however, it is the 50s, casual drinking, a lot more casual. But also, he's gone on record. This is definitely inspired by Jekyll and Hyde.
Okay.
And Jekyll and Hyde definitely has that I'm going to drink something and that's what's going to turn me kind of vibe, right? Because there's the formula or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
And I wonder if that's kind of a holdover from that. I don't know, though. It's hard to say. Also, though, without the drinking problem, he wouldn't have had the whole thing with
any of it.
Well, that's true.
Any of it. He wouldn't have had any of it. He wouldn't have the accident in the first place, theoretically. From what we hear in the movie, he wouldn't have been sneaking out at night to dive bars.
Right, to connect with the nightclub singer.
Yeah.
Yeah. who was so obviously playing the piano in that scene, right? It was so clear.
She definitely knows how to play the piano and is definitely not just mashing her hands around where she thinks the keys are.
That might not have even been a piano. Now that I think about it, we never saw the keys. It could have just been a bench.
This is entirely true.
And again, that's one of the things that I love about this.
Yeah.
Is there's this like sense that nobody told them they can't do it that way, so they did it that way. And there's a lot of things in here, some of the editing choices, some of the camera choices, like you've made a couple of comments while we were watching it about little Susie at the end. I'm going to go out and play, Mommy. No, stay inside. Well, I'm going to go out and play anyway. Then she goes out and play. Where does she play?
She plays in like an oil derrick field. And I'm like, this is, and at first I was like, wait, are they in Los Angeles? Yeah, they're in Los Angeles. And I'm wondering, can we get little Susie some of that sweet Eisenhower 90% tax rate money and get her a playground? Because I don't think she should be playing in dark, damp shacks with oil equipment going back and forth. Like, the dresses and ribbons alone are a catching hazard.
That all said, though, it made for such a unique look, especially, some young filmmakers, like, I'm going to stick my camera here, I'm going to stick my camera there, I'm not going to follow the conventions, I'm going to put my camera here and have the equipment moving in front of me.
Oh, and that was all fantastic.
Yeah.
But little Susie needs some help.
Well, Susie needs some real friends.
Yeah.
She needed a playground.
Yeah. And to be told not to hang out with strange men.
Yeah, who tell you to keep a secret.
Yeah. There was some...
Oof. Mm-hmm. What did you think of the monster design?
I liked the monster design.
Right?
I thought it was cool. I thought it was scary. I think especially holding it back at moments and not throwing it out there fully right from the beginning was great. It's a suit I would put in any haunt. Any appropriate haunt I was doing, but like definitely scary.
Yep.
For the $500 it apparently cost, well made.
And you just looked that up.
Yeah, I guess $500 in 50s money, not $500 in today's money, but still, you get the feeling he probably kind of had that made on the side too. Like everything in this was just a little bit on the side.
Yeah, let's hire all those film students who they'll work for exposure and experience, and we don't have to pay them as much.
Now, do you think the Night Singer was working for exposure? See what I did there? You'll have to watch the movie to know what I mean.
So the monster design I really like, and there's different stages of it too.
Yes.
We had the first time it's revealed, we just see the hands and they're not fully hideous eyes or whatever.
Yep.
When he does go full demon, we do see that, but then there's that one shot where he's roughing up, I guess, the older boyfriend of the Night Singer.
The mobster. He's roughing up the mobster.
That it's like he's got some dark on his skin and just the eyes have gone big. Just for a second. You just see it for a second.
Yeah, and he...
Yeah.
I liked that. I also appreciated when he got back from one of his midnight jaunts, if you will, where he stayed out too long and predictably turned into the hideous sun demon and then had to find his way home. That when he's found by another character, he's himself again, but like there's shadowing under the eyes. He looks clammy. Yeah. It looked like somebody who had recently transformed back or gone through something horrible.
Or been on one heck of a bender.
And boy, his lab assistant gives him this dressing down, and if it's not straight out of the AA playbook of like, if you won't live for yourself, at least live for the people that care about you.
Yeah, well, from the very beginning, whiskey and soda do not mix with whiskey.
No. Whiskey and soda mix. Whiskey and science do not.
Yes.
That's what it was.
Yeah. I know this movie is not at the level of most of my favorite 50s monster movies.
Sure.
It's no Creature from the Black Lagoon. I know that. But again, it's just that kind of film school, hey kids, let's put on a show kind of mindset that unfortunately it didn't do very well. It kind of got a negative reputation for a long time. It's now been kind of embraced as a cult film. It did get kind of sort of, not really remade, but they like redubbed it.
It got recut.
Yeah.
I saw something about that his son and Jay Leno recut it, and then it got put into another movie, and so that's interesting. It's kind of fun that he let them do that.
Well, or did they? Well, he had regrets about letting it get done because it's been done twice. Once like that, and then once as like a "What's Up, Tiger Lily" kind of redubbing kind of thing, or Kung Pao Winter, whatever that movie was. And he had some regrets about that, but I feel like it's been embraced now by those of us who love these movies, especially for that monster design. I remember the first time I went into Movie Madness, which was the video store in Portland, Oregon. I actually rented VHS tapes and DVD and Blu-ray, and they have a lot of memorabilia in there. It's a museum for movie stuff, but their horror section, they've got a lot of horror props and masks and collector's items, and they have a series of busts. Of course, they've got Frankenstein's monster, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and a bunch of others. But they also have the hideous sun demon right up there alongside things like the Metal and a Mutant from This Island Earth. And I think that's cool.
It is cool, and it's a fantastic monster. And, I wasn't sure going into this, I kind of had the idea of it being like a reverse werewolf situation of being the sun brings it out instead of the moon bringing it out. But it's more than just that. And so when it wasn't a wolf-like thing at first, I was like, oh, okay, we're going more reptilian, and thanks to a horribly inaccurate biology lesson from the good doctor that, to be fair, look, they didn't know about DNA yet and stuff, and Darwin's book is somewhat incomplete, I will give you. I wonder how many mothers kind of freaked out at their young sons having quite the lesson about becoming embryos there. That was a little freaky. But all of that aside, instead of being a creature of the night or taking on the characteristics of the creature of the night, every day out here in Arizona, we see lizards and things out in the desert. And so he becomes a creature of the day, of the extreme day instead of the extreme night. And so I think that's kind of cool that that's more of a lizard creature and that he has more of those characteristics,
Sure. And I know I really kind of oversold it as it's a reverse werewolf. Instead of the moon, it's the sun. I know I really oversold it like that. And I think you can really kind of overgeneralize what's happening in this movie by saying it that way. But I think you can look at the alcoholism, the whiskey, the Playboy elements, the Jekyll and Hyde stuff kind of in here as well. And just this desire to make another unique monster movie that may make him some bucks. It didn't, but
it seems like it should have, but
yeah.
Well,
yeah. What did it get released with? Do you have it listed there? It got released on a double bill, and I forget what the double bill was, but I'll look it up. There is some talent here. There is some really cool editing happening here, especially in the second half of the film. A jump scare happened, and you jumped.
Yep.
And I thought that was really cool to see. Because I didn't.
All my haunt actors say that. They all love to see me jump.
Well, okay, there's that. But I didn't expect a movie that doesn't have the same finesse or class as, say, like the Universal films or the Hammer films to elicit that kind of response from you. And I thought that was cool.
No, it was. I was getting into it. It had thrilling moments and stuff. In fact, what I'd say is I wish he would have had the funds to do what he probably envisioned. I know one of my big complaints early on in the film is that they're filming night scenes But they're clearly filming them during the day. And yes, I know that was done all the time in old movies, and I know the tricks about, like, putting the screen on and different things. And you can do that, but then you kind of need to make sure that the clouds aren't reflecting sunlight out and stuff. Like, a starry night and a clear sky behind small clouds during the day look different.
Well, and it wasn't made any better by the beach scene, where you were like, that's an awfully bright moon reflecting off the water. Yeah.
But then later we get night scenes that are true night scenes.
And it makes me wonder if all of that was shot early.
I get the feel. I feel like the stuff that I had more of an issue with felt like the stuff they filmed early. And then as they got more into the plot and the characters and what they wanted to do and they figured it out more, we got more dialed in toward the end of the movie.
See, I was going to go the other way around, that they were spending more time and then felt like they were going to run out of money or budget, so they kind of rushed through the stuff at the beginning. But maybe it is the other way around. Either way, there's definitely a different tenor.
Yes.
To everything happening. The release of the double bill was Attack of the Crab Monsters, which is a Roger Corman film, which is also really good, but it's another low-budget DIY-like film. Except Roger Corman was basically his own industry at that point. Eventually became his own industry. I do love that it came out in the UK with the title Blood on His Lips. I think that's a cool title. It would not have sold the movie any better, but that's a cool title.
Cool title, and it kind of brings his womanizing issue. Boy, the main character has issues.
He's not a good guy.
He's not a good guy at all.
And you know what? I'm going to go back to the Wolfman on this, and I know that I get some pushback on this.
Okay.
Larry Talbot isn't the greatest dude. In the Wolfman, he spots a woman that he's peeping Tomming with a telescope.
This is true.
Goes over and approaches her. She says, I'm engaged, and he doesn't back off. He continues to pursue her and insists that she go out with him. Oh, I can't see you. Okay, I'll pick you up at 8. See ya. I love Larry Talbot, and I love the Wolfman, and I'm not diminishing the Wolfman in any way, shape, or form. Film of its time, man of his time, whatever. But, come on. You aren't really the nicest. You're not being a creep. And I feel like Gil in this film is also not being a creep.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's intentional or unintentional, because I do feel like in many cases, Hollywood is going to tend to be left of society in what they are okay with, not necessarily putting on the screen, but the actors and directors and writers themselves tend to be left of wherever society is as a whole, politically and socially and those sorts of things.
There are outliers, but yeah.
I mean, I think probably for the 50s, many more people working in Hollywood had gay friends than had gay friends in other parts of the country, in other professions. Would you say that's fair?
I would say that's probably fair, yeah.
So I wonder if at the same time, there might have been a tendency for some of them to make fun of or criticize through their work certain types of behavior or people.
Yeah.
Really, the only guys who are bad guys in this all kind of get their due by the end.
Yeah.
Everybody that behaves honorably comes out okay.
Well, except for the cops, but yeah. But we don't know what they did before they showed up to work that day. The one he runs over with a car?
Yeah, but I think the guy was okay because they called for an ambulance.
That's true.
You don't call for an ambulance if he's dead. You call for the coroner.
That's true.
I think he got his foot with the car. But maybe, knocked him over, but I don't think he killed him.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. And he doesn't really hurt the girl. I mean, he intentionally lets Susie go.
And he intentionally lets the blonde go, right? Gets away from her.
Yeah, that's true. He doesn't turn it into a hostage situation.
And clearly mobster boyfriend is not a good guy.
No, I mean, he's pulling a gun on people. And
she needs to be rid of him anyway.
She really does. And as the Hideous Sundayman, he still has he's not just a bestial monster at that point. He's using tools.
Yeah.
He uses a rock to kill a dog.
Not on screen.
Not on screen, but it does happen. Or at least we assume it happened.
We assume, yeah.
Yeah. And he uses, didn't he pick up like a board or a 2x4 or something? And uses that as a weapon as well. So it's not just, I'm a monster, I'm going to start swinging.
Well,
with my hands.
And even, at one point when the cop is chasing him and they grapple, and I think he gets shot one of the first times he gets shot, and they're grappling and stuff. When he breaks free, he doesn't go back after the cop. He tries to run away.
Yeah.
He continues to try to run away from anyone that's not directly, attacking him with menace, which makes me think he still can recognize, there's a police officer. I don't want them to hurt me, but I also don't want to hurt them back if I don't have to. I feel like he keeps a lot of his mental faculties in this one.
Oh my gosh. I don't know why this just occurred to me. The dog thing. That's also in the Wolfman. I mean, he's attacked by a quote-unquote wolf, but he's played by a dog.
Yeah.
That Lon Chaney owned. That's his dog. So, or I guess
you can't put your dog in your movies. When can you,
Yeah, so that didn't even occur to me because when the dog attacks Larry Talbot, that's supposedly the werewolf attacking him. So, didn't even occur to me. So there's some Wolfman influence here. There's some Jekyll and Hyde. There's some weird science stuff. And I know they did that whole, let me pull out this book and show you the different stages an embryo goes through.
I'm like, they're like, and then the human, I'm like, that's a chicken. I know they're hard to tell apart, but you're pointing at a chicken.
It turns into a fish. And at that time.
Are you a human doctor? Why do you have this book? Also, why do you have slides of irradiated bugs and stuff? What are you doing?
And this you threw a grasshopper.
Still doing this science. We've proven it's bad. Are you all drinking? It is the 50s, to be fair.
We were just wondering what would happen if we exposed this spider to gamma rays. And that used to be a grasshopper. Clearly it's a tarantula. But that used to be a grasshopper.
Yeah, I think somebody's had a few too many grasshoppers.
Oh, yeah. I love bad science in 50s B movies. And Jack Arnold handles it well in his films like Creature. Mm-hmm. Or, I know he didn't do it, but The Mole People does a little science bit at the beginning as well about the hollow earth theory. It's all bunk, but it's presented so well. But the science in this is just...
I do want to give a shout out on the fight scenes.
Okay.
I actually quite enjoyed them. The different grappling scenes and stuff.
The punches were a little...
The punches were hit or miss, depending.
Literally.
But I do want to give a shout out to Robert Clarke's head, which smacks the crud out of a lamp hanging over a table, and that cannot have been on purpose.
I don't think it was on purpose.
One of those shots where they did it and they went, great, we got it. That one's in the can. You're not going to do it better than that, and I'm not going to ask you to crack your head open again.
Well, it was him that did it. Right, yeah. You okay, Bob? Yeah. We only have the weekends.
Yeah, exactly. The hideous concussion demon's going to be more like, maybe that's, he got hit on the head, and then he was like, oh my gosh, we should film the night scenes at night. I don't know. But all in all, no, a fun watch, a quick watch, which is nice. You can watch it over dinner and a little more. And definitely, one that I think is quite fun.
I enjoyed watching it with you over dinner. However, never have I more missed the Joy Cinema than tonight watching this movie. This movie would play so well at a Weird Wednesday. Oh, yeah. At the Joy Cinema. In fact, I started craving their popcorn when the sun demon is being chased by the police officer up the... What was that? Was that the tower? I don't know what that was.
I don't know what scaffolding nonsense. I made a joke about it at one point. I'm like, and now we're going to get our gunny sacks and ride the slide all the way to the bottom.
Well, that was after you said, why are they chasing him? There's nowhere for him to go.
Tower, just wait at the bottom.
It's until nighttime.
He's got to come down.
He's got to come down at some point. But during that whole scene, I just kept thinking, I wish I had some Joy Cinema popcorn. This would play so well in a crowded movie theater, or, I say crowded. I'd settle for 20 people watching this movie and just having a good time. And I know that a lot of people will laugh and joke about it, but I think it's a fun little flick. Especially when we stop shooting day for night. I think that's where it really kicks into high gear for me.
Yeah, me too.
That's when the editing gets more creative. That's when the camera shots start getting more creative. And I don't know if the acting gets better, but we're at least used to it at that point.
I didn't think it was, for the era and for the type of movie, I didn't think it was that bad.
Well, I thought Clarke was fine.
Yeah.
It's some of the others that, their screaming was a little much. And like the one doctor who's just kind of sitting in the corner, shaking his head like, oh no, just come on. It wasn't the greatest. A lot of it did feel like maybe these were community theater folks or acting students themselves.
Yep.
But I say that with so much love because I loved it.
I think they must have had a lot of fun making it.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. And that monster suit, man. We even get him with his shirt off, and he's got a full body transformation on him.
Like a full suit. Yeah, no, I'm impressed.
I guess there was one shot where he's running away from the camera, and he's transformed. And I thought, you know what? He's got a little bit more junk in the trunk there. I bet they padded his pants there a little bit to bulk him up a little bit.
Okay.
Not that I was checking him out from behind. You don't have to worry about me and Robert Clarke, honey. He's no Julie Adams, but I'm just saying, they really worked to make sure he looked like a monster.
Yeah, no, he did, and he had like different movements as the monster. I appreciated all of that. As a monster coordinator myself, I appreciated all that he put into the role.
There's also something about a monster wearing a loose white button-up shirt that just looks cool.
It does.
Whether it's Curse of the Werewolf the movie Curse of the Werewolf, or the Wolfman in the Monster Squad, or this. There's just something about it, and I don't know if it's because the white provides a great contrast, but it's just neat. If there was a Hideous Sun Demon action figure, I'd want one. I don't know if I want to make one out of Lego, but that would be an interesting build. I would love a model of this if I had a permanent desk somewhere, because I would put it right next to the Gillman and my hypothetical alligator people figure, which is another movie I'd love to share with you someday. But yeah, I just enjoyed it. Only thing missing was the Joy Cinemas popcorn and patrons.
Miss you, Jeff.
Missed you, Jeff Punk Rock Martin.
Well.
You still trust me when I introduce movies and I got this movie for you?
Yeah, so far so good.
And it scared you out. I did hit you with Manos early. So I think I've lowered. Look, I set the bar.
Well, what are we on to next?
I have no idea, because you're not going to be available for the next episode.
That's true.
I'm hoping to schedule something with Alan Tromp here very soon, maybe even for next week. So fingers and tentacles crossed. I can make that happen, but I have some recordings from Monster Bash still, and 3 episodes that Steve Turek did while we were moving. So we've still got stuff for the can. There will be an episode. It's just, unfortunately, unless Beth and I do something before no, you know what? It's just not going to happen. I don't want to. Please come back, though. Really, it's going to be a good show, whether about Beth, I don't know where I'm going with this. Save me.
Always, baby, from yourself and every hideous sun demon out there.
Welcome to a night of total terror. Night of the living dead, the dead who live on living flesh. The dead whose haunted souls hunt the living whose bodies are the only food for these ungodly creatures. Night of the living dead. A bizarre adventure in fear. An experience in shock, more shattering than your strangest nightmare. Night of the living dead. A night with the dead who cannot die. A night of total terror. Night. Of the living dead.
While I was editing what I sat down with Beth to record, I realized that I mentioned that we'd bring up Night of the Living Dead again, and then I never did. So I did just play the trailer a second ago. The reason I wanted to bring up Night of the Living Dead, I'm a film score guy, and those of you who spend more than 5 minutes with me know that I love my movie music because I won't stop talking about it. Well, because of that, I'm always keyed into the film music of all the movies we watch. Sometimes I wish I could get it as a soundtrack album, as a separate release, and my CD and soundtrack collection is chock full of classic monster movie stuff. And I happen to have some music from the Hideous Some Demon on disc, because it was reused in Night of the Living Dead. George A. Romero and company used a lot of library music in their seminal zombie movie in 1968, and they must have pulled from the same library that the producers of The Hideous Sun Demon pulled from, because some of the music from Night of the Living Dead first appeared in The Hideous Sun Demon. And I do wonder if that was the first time it appeared in a monster movie or a film in general, a feature film anyway. I don't know enough about how library music was kind of tracked and sourced and how to track that sort of thing down and figure out the provenance of this, and it was used over here and then cut up over there, whatever. I don't get it. I don't know enough about it, but I do find it fascinating that a movie that I have gone on record as saying is one of my favorite DIY independent monster movies used music for another one of my favorite DIY independent monster movies. I think that's kind of cool. So that's the Night of the Living Dead bit. What's coming up next week on the show? Well, I'm not 100% sure yet. I have reached out to Alan Tromp about scheduling The Curse of the Faceless Man with him. I do like that movie quite a bit, and I know he does as well, and I like talking to Alan, so I'm hoping we can make that happen. But if it doesn't, well, there will be something next week. I promise you that. I've got a lot of stuff in the hopper, courtesy of Mike R. or Steve Turek. I've got some stuff from them, from Monster Bash or Turek's independent stuff that he did for us while we were on various hiatuses over the past year or so. So something will be coming up next week. I might even pull something else out of my hat. We'll see. We'll see. Just make sure you stay tuned to monsterkidradio.net to keep up to date, because that's where everything you're going to need to know about the podcast can be found, including links to our social media, Facebook, Twitter, or X, Reddit, Patreon, Discord. We're all over there. We're also on Blue Sky, and I swear I'm going to go ahead and get that updated on the website. But if you look up Monster Kid Radio on Blue Sky, you'll find us over there as well. I mentioned the Patreon because it's becoming more and more clear to me that Patreon may be the best way to be in touch with people away from the people who run X, away from the people who run Facebook and Instagram. I think this may be the primary place to go online to find stuff outside of the website, of course. You can follow us on Patreon without becoming a patron yourself. So feel free to follow us over at patreon.com/monsterkidradio. I did mention that we have a brand new patron. I want to give that person a shout out. Eric P. is our newest patron. He is a patron at the Fiendish Film fan level, so he is entitled to all the rewards you get with that. I do see that David A. just recently joined as a free member, and this is really a good place to go, because something else that I'm going to be doing is posting, well, episodes of the podcast, of course, but then our schedule for Twitch, twitch.tv/monsterkidradio. The plan right now moving forward is that every other week we're going to be going live on Twitch on Saturday mornings, where I'm going to be showing probably 2 movies or so, and then I'll be going live and checking in with people and chatting it up with folks. I should probably set a set time for this, so I'm still working out those details, especially with the whole daylight savings thing not affecting us down here in Arizona, so stay tuned to our Patreon page for that. Also, if you go to monsterkidradio.net, you'll find a link to the Classic Horror Film Board where you can find the Rondo Hatton Classic Horror Awards ballot and check out all the different nominees and all the different categories. But remember what we said. Larry Underwood, Dr. Gangrene from Monster Kid Hall of Fame. Come on. Come on, man. That's the guy. That's the guy. I'm sure there are other people too, so vote for them too. But let's do what we can to get Larry Underwood in the Hall of Fame. I think that would be amazing. Amazing. And would just show so much appreciation for all the work that he's done for the Monster Kid community. Bride of Monster Kid Radio is a Team Death production. All original content of Bride of Monster Kid Radio is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 Unported license. You can learn more about Team Death, our other projects like Death Designs, Mail Order Zombie, the Team Death YouTube channel, and more at www.teamdeath.com. Remember, death is spelled D-E-T-H. All previous episodes of this podcast, as well as the original Monster Kid Radio podcast, are available at www.monsterkidradio.net. Please rate and review Bride of Monster Kid Radio wherever you download your favorite podcasts. Sunset Surf is copyright 2024, The Beach Bunnies. You can find this off their album, also called Sunset Surf, over at beachbunnies.bandcamp.com. You'll find their other albums over there as well, and whichever album you check out, make sure you drop them a line and let them know that you heard about them here on The Bride of Monster Kid Radio. My name's Derek M. Cook. I'll talk to everybody next week. Ciao.